Hoću da vam govorim o Lovćenu, o lepom crnogorskom bregu. Prvo što putniku pred oči izađe, to je on. Prvu crnogorsku reč koju izreče, to je njegovo ime. Prva stopa crnogorske zemlje na koju stane, to je kamen od Lovćena. Kud se god maknete, vidite ga. To je polazna zvezda za Crnogorce. Po njemu se poznaju lepi dani i bure. O njega se lome gromovi i oluje, a on večito stoji. Lovćen je osobiti svojim visinom i svojim izgledom. Car među bregovima krunisan je gorskim vijencem. Nijedan putnik neće pored njega morem proploviti, a da se ne osvrne i da zapita: kakav je onaj breg? Prve i posljednje sunčane zrake na njemu se vide. Prvi oblaci i gromovi od njega se kreću. Posle bure i oluje prvi komad vedroga neba njemu se javi. Kameniti vrh njegov izgleda kao kruna, kao crkva bez zvonika, kao grobnica belim platnom pokrivena. A i šta je drugo taj lepi vrh Lovćena nego najveća i najčudnija grobnica na celoj ovoj zemlji? Tu je grob pesnika neuvilog gorskog vijenca. Tu, na toj visini, u toj strahovitoj samoći sahranjene Rade, vladika i gospodar Crne Gore. Gromovi i morski vetrovi jedini su koji tu tišinu potresaju. On je i grobom svojim nadvisio druge. Lovćen je uzdigao njegov grob više svih grobova na ovom svetu. A njegov grob uzdigao je Lovćen više svih slovenskih bregova. Pretvorio ga u Olimp, u hram gde se srpske vile skupljaju. Na dnu Lovćena on je ugledao ovaj svet. Na vrhu Lovćena gleda ga ovaj svet. To je planina njegovog detinjstva, njegove mladosti, njegove poezije. Višega i postojanijega spomenika nema. Piramide, grobovi egipatskih faraona, šta su drugo neg malene gomilice kamenja prema Lovćenskom vrhu, prema tome vladičinome spomeniku. I kad na ovome svetu nestane bregova i ljudi, meni se čini, još će trajati dva crnogorska kolosa, Lovćen i vladika.
Honorable Paul Lynch, MP, my very dear friends and colleagues from the Consular Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I have some apologies from two federal MPs, Mr. Laurie Ferguson and Mr. Chris Hayes, who confirmed their presence tonight, but unfortunately they couldn't join us. And also from some of my colleagues, Consul General of France and Ecuador, which maybe will join us later on. Of course, I expected Dr. Stepan Kerkešerian, Community Relations Commission Chair, who is, as we all know, very busy. But it's really a great honor and my pleasure to host this humble tribute to great philosopher, statesman, and poet Petra II Petrovica Njegosa. When some time ago I was approached by Mr. Slobodan Lazovic of Montenegrin Cultural Society Njegos from Sydney with the proposal to jointly organize an academy to mark 200 years from the birth of the Petra II Petrovica Njegosa, I had accepted the idea immediately. Apart from obvious reasons for this gathering, I must add that personally I'm a great admirer of Njegos and his work, since he was undoubtedly one of the greatest minds of his epoch. This is why I'm sincerely grateful to each and every one of you for joining us tonight to celebrate his life and work. I'm especially pleased that tonight some of my colleagues from Consular Corps will receive the copy of the famous book of Njegos, The Mountain Red, in their languages. I will not speak about Njegos, somebody else will do it. I would like you once again to thank you, all of you, for coming, and I hope that you'll enjoy tonight, and I would like to give the word to Mr. Marko Đurišić.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In 36 years of cultural and artistic activities on this continent, the Montenegrin Cultural Arts Society Njegos Sydney is in honor of Petra II Petrovica Njegosa, the man whose name we proudly wear. Up until now has presented 24 Njegos Academies. Tonight's Academy is the 25th. It is very special because it celebrates the 200th anniversary of his birth, which is organized in a special place with a special program with special emphasis on its contribution to creativity, about him as a thinker, to his character and acts, on which his poetic creations of his works from that time, with a message for today and for the future to come. We will now hear from the Secretary of the Society, Mr. Đurišić.
Njegos's identity and his works. Great Njegosolog, Professor Dr. Slobodan Tomović say, Njegos was a cosmopolitan philosopher and a spiritual empire unparalleled in those parts of the world, and all those who are pretenders for this parallel should not be carried away. In those areas there is nothing more powerful than Njegos. He thought about everything in his way, and this is something that honors him and us. The Njegos phenomenon, whose achievement started to be explained more than 150 years ago, up to now gave great results. Some 150 books, tens, hundreds and thousands of texts were written, and thus great literature was created, called the Njegosology. The Njegosology of today became a subject by itself, not separated from Njegos, but closely increment, however separated, as a story, or rather a relationship with work of Petra II Petrovica Njegosa. Of all the great thinkers, writers, philosophers, and he is all that, there is a great deal of literature, and their achievement is usually evaluated slowly. Njegos was lucky in so much that literature around him grew quickly. Njegos was born in a place where there was no university, no philosophical or any schools, which means that in some way he was self-taught. He had a God-given talent, he had the power of his talent, and two powerful men close to him. His uncle, Saint Petar of Cetinje, from who he could learn quite a bit, and Simo Milutinovic, who he knew much and influenced him a lot. Njegos knew of everything that could be known in those times about historical events, philosophy, literature, and theology. Using all this awareness and knowledge, he created a whole, and from this whole, he prepared a system of event processing. From this view of the world, he obtained general knowledge of all events he knew about. Njegos's works, the ray of microcosm, the mountain wreath, and the false star Cefan the Little, emerged from one level, one manner of viewing. From his universal viewpoint, he processed topics dramatically, excellently, well, for instance, the mountain wreath and Stefan the Little. However, in his own way, the ray too is a drama. The ray is an even more powerful drama which Njegos questions the origin of the world. It represents Njegos's revelation, like the biblical revelation of St. John. Njegos tried to create his own vision. Few people in the world tried to work out the vision of existence. The Bible did that in its way, but Njegos is not completely a man of the Bible. He tried with his inner life to conjure up the creation of the world. In the structure of Njegos's world, two ideas dominate, the light and the cyclic movement. Njegos tried to resolve the universe through astrophysical theories. What can well be said of Leonardo da Vinci or Giordano Bruno in Italy, of Bacon in England, of Descartes in France, of Leibniz in Germany, and Lomonosov in Russia. For the same reasons it can be and has to be said for Petar II Petrovica Njegosa, that both in Montenegro and South Slav countries, with his fighting spirit and his creative and original thought and personality, he marked and inspired most completely, most effectively, and most decisively the liberating Renaissance and a man of the modern era, in all general contradictions that were characteristic of the conditions of this crucial development of our people, especially of 19th century Montenegro. In this, his whole and humanely deeply original and effective reflection, and at the same time inspiration of a whole watershed period of general human and specifically Montenegrin, Serbian and South Slav history, the liberation struggle of nations and people in this whole deep, essential and uniquely philosophical content and significance of his original works, which thus belong for South Slav people in the most often published and in the world most translated and everywhere well read and highly valued works. It is true that during Njegos's rule the church in Montenegro declined. It is true too when his secretary Medakovic writes about him. He was too young when he accepted his spiritual assignation. And it is above all true that Njegos quite consciously was and remained a secular person in everything, because he was moved and enthusiastic only about the liberation fight of our nations and our people. This being visible from numerous documents and his works themselves. This too from Njegos's words to Vuk Karadžić, who asked him for his metropolitan's blessing for printing his translation of the New Testament. Njegos refused him, writing to Vuk, "Ah, Vuče, this is not for me, nor are these sort of things my job. In Hungary there are quite few more educated bishops who studied and know all church regulations and canons. Approach them as appropriate archpriests, unbearable yokes, and for acquisition of arms and going to war. In this I am a real bishop, and I would give you as many blessings as you would want." And if he could, even in our times, hear how some interpreters of his work want to by all means say that in the ray of microcosm he wrote only a religious poem, but even as a Theodicea itself, he would without fail, as he did to Vuk, reply that that's not for him, it's not his job. And he would return it in his attached letter to his teacher Simo Milutinovic, in which he said, "That's his attempt for general agreement, like a beehive or an anthill, that nations and people, finally as human beings, free themselves from unbearable yokes." And this was his job, as a revolutionary fighter, philosopher, educator and poet, bearer of thought for the whole people, the thought of liberating, fighting humanism, manliness and heroism, which he engaged in always and everywhere, even in the book Ray of Microcosm, with its deeply humane as well as in a utopian message too of a cosmic beehive. Rays and heavens, eternal love replaces the traditional terrible church anthema and curse on those who, in Crnica and other Montenegrin tribes, Adam-like hesitated before an uprising which they were satanically pumped by the Scutari Vizar Osman Pasha, but with it warning all others in Njegos's Yugoslavia and the whole world who hesitated before the satanic temptation of so many tyrannies of various living Napoleons, Caesars and Alexanders, exploiters and enslavers of nations and people slaves, servants and labourers. And this message of the Ray of Microcosm with the message of the Mountain Wreath and Stephen the Little and other Njegos's works will remain exactly because of their deeply humanist courage, of their penetrating philosophical, cosmopolitan and all-encompassing social grasp, such a signpost to our crucial times, according to which the Ray of Microcosm and all his works, with their gentle, liberating and fighting humanity, are and remain permanently engraved in the people for whom he did his best with all his being to achieve freedom and unity of a homogeneous people. I conclude my speech about Njegos with his works and his message with words from Professor Dr. Slobodan Tomovic as I started. We, his people, have to be conscious of this, that while we live with Njegos, it means we live with a great collaborator. With Njegos we see even most distant stars. Without Njegos, not even ourselves. Thank you.
Njegos's collection of his letters is very well known in the literature of the South Slavic people. The letter which Njegos sent Osman Pasha Skopjak, the Vizir of Skadar, a man from the same people and once one of his ancestors before he turned to Islam, it falls under a beautiful reference to an enemy and carried a patriotic attitude of a statesman from the Southern Slav people in those areas at that time. The content of this letter can be taken as teachings even today. The letter will be read by Zorica Zingeni.
Cetinje, 5th of October, 1847. To Osman Pasha Skopjak. The Bishop of Montenegro greets Osman Pasha Skopjak, Vizier of Skoda. Your letter came to hand of the 17th of February of this year, in which you mentioned some funny things. First of all, you say that we should wash our hearts and do things of all manner, nice, with unity at our border. My heart for people is always clean and washed, and with brute people, a man is forced to behave like a brute, since he cannot do otherwise even if he wanted to. As for your boasting that you have friends in my place who advise you of my intentions, good that you have them. Don't tell me who they are so they won't perish from me. This and every other such thing you can tell those who see the world looking through their long stem pipe, not to me. My intentions are public and clean, proper towards everyone. Thus they can live in my neighbourhood. You say that I am seeking something all the time. What would I seek and with whom? When Bayezid, called Ilberim, vanquished Bosnia, and when the wild Asian hordes our small but valiant empire destroyed, then my forefathers and some other chosen families, who did not perish here from the Turks, left their fatherland and escaped into these mountains. I am solitary, I am an outsider. Think, where are my brothers, the famous and renowned princes and dukes of our empire? Where is Crnojević, Bushatlija? Where is Obrenknezević, Mahmut Begović? Where is Kulinović? Where is Skopjak? Where is Vidajić? Where is Filipović? Where is Gradičević? Where is Stočević? Where is Ljubović? Where is Cengić? And where are many others? Where did the lords and the flower of our people get to? We could seek our fatherland and our glory together, if we were all together. Then with them I would search for something grand. God only knows when they will remember their glory, and how long will these brothers of mine be estranged from their own brothers and call themselves Asians, And how long will they labour for foreign interests, not considering themselves nor their own? From that unfortunate day when the Asian crushed our empire, with whom does this handful of mountain people for general decency and the name of our people fight for? All with their own brothers turned renegade Turks? Brother strikes brother, brother cuts down brother. The ruins of our empire are soaked in our blood. This is our general misfortune. This is a misfortune created more by the enmity of brothers than by foreign force. And our heroic tribe became hired labourers and servants to foreigners, just like you are a hired labourer to foreigners. Wretched Montenegro was almost strangled by this discord among our people, but it mended her ways too. This made Montenegro today and forever a jewel in a knightly crown. I would like to see more than anything in the world unity among brothers, in whom one blood simmers, who were brought up by one milk and who are rocked in one cradle. As regards me, myself, and this handful of people, I do not wish for more decency than this we have before the great and clever world. Something else is needed, because it's blood-soaked food and naked decency. I would have loved to have been born a bit later, because I would have seen my brothers consider themselves and their own, and say publicly before the world that they are worthy great-grandsons and descendants of the old knights of our people. When this sacred word is being said, lucky will be all our tribe. Then the Montenegrin name, the Bosnian and other knights of the Serbian people will like a talisman honour and carry in their hearts. I hear that you call Montenegrins brigands. This name is not shameful at all. A brigand means cavalier, knight. For instance, the following brigands are cavaliers: Marko Kraljević, Relja Omučević, Gergeles Alija, Tale Orašanin, Skenderbeg, Stojan Janković, Ilija Smiljanić, Bajo Pivljanin, Đuk Draško Popović, Đuk Vuk Mićunović, Nikac Tomanović, Karađorđe, Đuk Veljko Petrović. These are only some of our people who are not alive today, and these three are alive even today: Abdelkader, Shamil, and our Duke Micha Morački. It is true that some Montenegrins are killers, plunderers, and enticers, but they are forced to be by the uncontrollable and wild Turkish force and a heroic misfortune. Just think, my dear countryman, such a lot of people crowded in these mountains, closed off from almost everywhere. When the year is in any way fertile, one gets by reasonably well, but when there is a year like last year, they suffer indescribably. When you talk to me as my Bosnian brother, I am your brother, your friend. But when you speak as a foreigner, as an Asian, as an enemy of our tribe and name, this is adverse to me as it would be adverse to every gentle thinking man. I know you will say when you read this, when you see this letter of mine, what nonsense does this man write and dream about? But I hope that our descendants, no matter when, will evaluate with dignity the price of kind thoughts and the bishop's letter, who is held upon today from the sides as an odd man out. Metropolitan Petar Petrović Njegos.
Njegos's Lucha Microcosma is the work of the universe, according to many, his best work. We will not read verses of this heavenly work. In gratitude, he dedicated this work to his teacher Simo Milutinović. The man directed him in poetry. A small extract from his dedication to his teacher will be read to us by the youngest participant in tonight's academy, Marko Tomanović.
All beauties of the heavens and skies, all that blossoms forth in sacred rays, whether it be worlds or human minds, all splendors immortal and short-lived. What are all these taken together, if not poesy of the world's father? The poet's calling is a sacred one. His voice is heaven's inspiration. The shining spark is his constant guide. His language is the Creator's glory. O wondrous bard of Serbian blood, already you have felt the lash of fate. People can never attain all they desire. My own fate, too, is well known to you. I think it has no parallel on earth. I grew beside the Tartarus gates. Hell growls at me its foul curses. All its horrid features I can behold. But I dare not grumble at my fate. My hope is aglow with my Creator's will. And as for you, I ask a lot more. That in fiery verses you should glorify, before the eyes of Serbs and all the Slavs, Obilic, Dusan and Karađorđe, and many other Serbian heroes. That you should hurl your dreadful curses upon Vujica, Vuk, and Vukašin, Serbian traitors hateful to God, whose evil besmirches the Serbian name. Tartarus punishment is too mild for them.
Dubrovnik Count Medo Pučić, writer and politician, a member of the Illyrian movement, whose idea was that all South Slavs should live freely in one country, and Njegos was a great supporter of this idea up to a particular moment. As a prolific writer, he has published many valuable literary works. One of these new works is the book Talijanke, Italian Women, which when issued and sent to Cetinje to his friend Metropolitan Petar II Petrovica Njegosa of Montenegro. Here is a letter of gratitude for the gift. It will be read by Radovan Kilibarda.
To Medo Pučić, esteemed Count Pučić, thank you for your fraternal memento, the wondrous gift you presented me with. They are not Italian girls, but adorned and proud Serbian girls that would warm the soul of every patriot. Whatever in them is your mind's creation shines in the sacred temple of our muses with pure national faith. Dubrovnik is a unique glory of our literature, and you are its glory. Wretched Serbs, everyone's sabre cuts them, yet it could not exterminate them, nor any tyrant's chains could keep them enslaved. The stupid missionaries, with their lies, corrupted and broke them. They separated Serbs, simple and innocent, each to their side, estranged brother from brother. They unsheathed the bleeding sabre between the Serbs and released rivers of fraternal blood, simmering. God knows will the Serbs ever recover from this mortal wound. Dear Count, today times have come when business is conducted by people who did not manage to achieve anything of their own. In the beginning, I hoped for something, but today I see, for the present, Yugoslavdom is an ideal word that only sounds good in its hollow sound. What is the governorship, triple kingdom, and dukedom? They are all dead historical words, nothing else. Yugoslavs are not aware of their power, and they don't see their merit. That's why they hand themselves blindly into unconditional slavery to a foreigner. This is eternal suffering for their people, and for the souls who feel this. However, it is all the same when our brothers don't understand what glorious freedom is. Farewell, Mr. Pučić. I send you brotherly greetings with all those who love their people. Your admirer, the Metropolitan of Montenegro, Petar Petrović Njegosa. Cetinje on St. George's Day, 1849.
Ladies and gentlemen, right now we're going to have the son of the very first president of the Montenegrin Cultural and Art Society, Njegos Sydney, Milan Mirković, whose father, late father Rade Mirković, was our first president. Thank you.
In the year we celebrate the 200th anniversary of birth of Petar II Petrovica Njegosa. We present to you his most read work for your library in your language. We thank you for being our guest to commemorate the jubilee of our great writer and statesman. I call upon the Consul General of Austria.
Now we would like to call upon the Consulate General of the Federal Republic of Germany to accept his copy, please. And finally, just the Consulate General of Italy, please, to accept their book.
Ladies and gentlemen and dear friends, with a warm pleasure in my heart, I wish to thank you for your attendance here tonight for this special moment celebrating 200 years since the birth of Petar II Petrović Njegosa, Prince Bishop of Montenegro and the greatest ever poet in a Serbian language. I'd like to congratulate these young people for what they've done
here tonight. They say what they need to say, and they presented what they need to present. And thank you for that, what you've done. Ladies and gentlemen, I like to call on a few people to thank him for the support on the last decade, and especially for this occasion what we got tonight. I'd like to call Mr. Zoran Podinic, director of the Miss Televizija. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you. For many things. Now I can call director for a daily newspaper Vesti, Director Raj Milovanović for Australia.
Thank you. Great honor. Thank you very much.
And the last one tonight, they gone to Konzulat General Republike of Serbia, and thank you very much for your hostility and for acceptance and for support for this night here. We're looking forward for the next near future for this. Okay, that's it. That's all. That's your.